Hello, and welcome to Goodnight Flagstaff. I'm Kathy Farretta, and I love to read stories aloud, so I'm glad to be part of this program, Goodnight Flagstaff. Thank you for tuning in to our community story time. You can find a new chapter from one of our favorite family-friendly books at 8 p.m. each weeknight on the Literacy Center's YouTube channel and on Crater Radio, a local online radio station. The previous chapter is replayed on Crater Radio each weeknight at about 7:45, just before the new chapter airs. You can also listen to all previous Goodnight Flagstaff recordings on YouTube. We are currently reading Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. If you'd like to check it out to read it along with us at home, it is available in the Hoopla app with your Coconino County Library card. Check one out today. Please email us if you'd like to join our team of readers and connect with your community through stories. All ages welcome. Our email is goodnightflagstaff@gmail.com. Last time we read together, Nishone finally got to choose her weapon. For Davery, she asked for a weapon of knowledge. For Mac, liquid lightning because of his water powers. And for herself, she stuck with the good old bow and arrow, lightning of course. Then she went to find her friends in the Lost and Found, but when she opened the door, it was her mother instead. Where are Davery and Mac? How did her mother survive those monsters? Chapter 39, Lost and Found. Nishone, wait, Mr. Yazi calls. But I'm not listening and definitely not waiting. My throat is suddenly dry and my legs are shaking, but I make myself go through the Lost and Found door. Standing all around the room are strange glass-like cases, transparent but solid and more amber-colored than clear. And inside the cases, frozen in place, are people like my mom. I walk over to her case and peer at it closely. It's definitely her. She looks the same as she did in my mirror vision. The punk rock hair, the leather jacket, the motorcycle boots, the sad eyes. What's she doing here, Mr. Yazi? I ask, my voice quiet. I press one hand against the side of the amber and reach for my turquoise with the other. But of course my pendant is no longer there. Oh dear, he says. I didn't know she would be in the Lost and Found, but now that I think about it, it does make sense. He lets out a heavy sigh. If I could, I would spare you this sorrow, child. Why? I stare down at him, incredulous. Were you trying to hide my mother from me? Well, she failed, Nishone. She's here because she failed to kill the monsters of her generation, and with her failure the threat grew stronger, the evil bigger. She's not a role model for you now. In fact, she's a distraction we can't afford. She's not a distraction, she's my mom. Whose side are you on? Mr. Yazi crawls up my leg and torso, settling on my arm so he can look me in the eye. I am on the side of the monster slayers, as always. It's my job to help you save the world. Even if that means you losing my friends? I turn back to my mom. My family? Your mother did not succeed, he says again. You need to move on. Our hopes are riding on you now. Maybe it wasn't her fault, I argue. She must have followed the same path we did, but she didn't have any companions to help her. She had to fight the monsters all alone. Your mother was one of my most promising students, but she could not pass the trial of the sand. My eyes widen. The mirrors? The trial of the sand manifested as mirrors for me. Is that why I saw her there? She's stuck there? In a way, he says. Her body is here in the Lost and Found, but her consciousness, her soul, is still in the trial. That must be what you saw, the moment of her life that haunts her the most. It seems she could not let you go after all. I shiver. Is that what happens when you fail a trial? Is that what would have happened to me? He nods gravely. But wait, you left her there? It is not in my power to set her free. Then how do we get out? I spin around, and Mr. Yazi clings to my sleeve for dear life. There are other slayers here too, all Navajo, but clearly from different eras in time. A man to my right is wearing blue jeans with the cuffs rolled up and a plain white t-shirt. His hair is slicked back, and he looks like someone out of a movie from the 1950s, like Elvis. Another wears a three-piece suit, a fancy bowler hat, and carries a cane. A woman in velvet skirts and a huge squash blossom necklace is in a case farther back in the room. And just beyond her, I see someone I know. Mac! I rush to the case he is in. He appears to be sleeping, which is less creepy looking than some of the other slayers, who are frozen in mid-action. I put a hand on the glass. We have to save him. I look around wildly. Is Davery here too? And there he is, just a few cases down. He's sitting cross-legged, hunched over a book, but completely still. I have to get him out, I cry. I have to get them all out. Mr. Yazi's face scrunches up, and I get the feeling he's about to say something really bad. You know the song, Nishone, he says sadly. What does it tell you? Who will pay the lost one's price? These are the lost ones, aren't they? Yes. And I'm guessing the price to pay is not spare change in my pocket. What are the next lines? He prompts. I know them by heart. Blood and flesh will not suffice. A dream must be the sacrifice. Mr. Yazi nods. A dream, I say. Something stronger than blood and flesh, whatever that means. Think about it, Mr. Yazi urges. Dreams are our hopes for the future, and as such they are more powerful than anything in the physical world. But how do I get a dream to free them? You already have it. What is your true heart's desire? I gulp, thinking furiously. I want so many different things, but surely... It's up to you, Nishone, a voice comes from behind me. I whirl to see Johanne standing in the doorway. He's been listening to our conversation. Mr. Yazi leaves his perch on my arm and makes the long trek up to the son's shoulder. Me? I ask, not liking this at all. Yes, he says resolutely. You are the monster slayer of this generation. It is you who must make the sacrifice. I clutch my stomach, suddenly feeling very sick. My mouth tastes sour, just like I drank old milk, as it fully hits me what he and Mr. Yazi are saying. If I want Mom, Mac, and Davery back, I have to give up my dream of being a hero, even though I completed the trials and worked so hard to get here. I must step aside and let someone else finish the battle. I think about the silly dreams I used to have, too embarrassed to say them out loud. It seems like a lifetime ago that the thing I craved most was internet fame. Then I wanted to be good at sports so the kids at ICCS would respect me. It had felt so great at the Prom of Thorns when I was popular, but now that I've discovered my ancestral powers and I have my lightning weapons, I could be a real hero in the old-fashioned sense, like something out of a storybook, like the original Monster Slayer. I look over my shoulder at Mac, and next to him Davery, frozen in amber. Their lives barely begun. I can't leave them stuck in there forever. Then my eyes turn to my mother, and I recall the vision, the sacrifice she made to keep us safe, even though there was no guarantee of success, and my dad's confused face when she left. If I miss having her in my life, I can't imagine how devastated he must feel. So maybe it isn't much of a choice after all. I'll do it, I say firmly, trying my best to be brave. I'll give up my dream of being a hero to set them free. All of them, it's worth it. Then they can fight the monsters. I square my shoulders, ball my hands into fists, squeeze my eyes shut, and yell, Take it! Take my dream! I hold my breath, waiting. When nothing happens, I crack an eyelid open. Mr. Yazi is staring at me, and the sun is trying not to laugh. What? That's not how it works, Johanna says. I relax, feeling a little silly. Well, then why didn't you say so? I would have if I'd known you were going to do something so dramatic. Okay, so it was a little dramatic. Then how does it work? Mr. Yazi looks at Johanna. Actually, I'm not quite certain about the application of... Before he can finish his sentence, the ground begins to shake, a low rattle at first, but then it grows to a great rumble. The amber cases totter on their platforms. It did work! Move back, Mr. Yazi yells, and I plaster myself against a trembling wall. I watch in awe as the cracks form in the cases, and with a shriek they all shatter. I duck as shards fly around me, and when I look up, Mac is standing on a platform, yawning and stretching his arms over his head. Mac! I dash over and pull him down and give him a big hug. Ow! He grumbles, pushing me away. Don't mess up the hair. I laugh because he's still the same old Mac. I missed him so much, and to think, in the Trial of Thorns, I almost forgot he existed. Where am I? He asks, looking around. Last thing I remember, I was running through some kind of maze, but it was too dark to see and got all confused. I must have walked around forever, yelling for you and Davery, but nobody answered. After a while, I got so tired, I lay down for a quick snooze and... Nizone? Says another voice behind me. Davery! I run to my best friend and I hug him too, and this time it's not awkward at all. What happened? He asked, brushing amber dust from his hair. How did we get here? Is this the House of Suns? How did we get through the mirrors? You didn't, I tell him. You went into one of them and never came back. I had to keep going, hoping I could find help. It was like I was stuck in a vision, he says. I was in the biggest library I've ever seen. I kept looking for the answer how to beat Mr. Charles, but there were so many books. I could hear you and Mac somewhere crying for me, but I couldn't help because I couldn't find the right book. He shivers. It was not a good feeling. Trust Davery to do research even in his nightmares. Speaking of books, I have something for you. I reach into my backpack and take out the monster fighting manual. It shines and shimmers like it holds something alive and powerful in its pages. Whoa! As he takes it, the light reflects off his glasses. What is it? It's a weapon of knowledge from the sun. I motion toward Yohane. He is helping other freed warriors step off their platforms while Mr. Yazi, still on his shoulder, hails each one. Is that him? Davery asks. Yep. Yohane spies us with the lightning book and strides over. Mr. Yazi raises a tiny claw in greeting. Ah, our scholar has returned. Welcome, Davery. Good, the sun says to me. You are distributing the weapons. We have no time to waste. Then he turns to Davery. If you open this book in your time of need, it will tell you how to defeat the monsters. This must be what I was searching for in my dream, Davery whispers, awed. Thank you. Hey. And this is for you, Mac, I say, dangling the vial attached to the leather cord. The liquid inside looks like quicksilver, thick and vicious, and hinting at the colors of the rainbow. You have to be really careful with it. Sweet, Mac exclaims, taking it gingerly. What is it? Lightning in a bottle, Yohane explains. You, related to Born for Water, should be able to direct it just as you direct the waters of the earth. But do not use it lightly. There is only this vial, and then it is gone. Mac pumps his fist in the air. Eat your heart out, X-Men, he shouts as he slips the cord over his neck. Did you get a weapon, Nishone? Davery asks. I slip the bow off my shoulder, knock an arrow, and point it toward the ceiling. Can you shoot that? He asks. She better, Mac says, because we've got monster butt to kick. Yohane raises his eyebrows, but he's soon distracted by an older warrior who is having trouble getting to his feet. He leaves us to help him up. This would probably be a good time for me to let Mac and Davery know I won't be fighting alongside them. Guys, there's something I need to tell you. Who's the lady in the leather jacket? Mac asks. And why is she staring at us and crying? Thank you for tuning in. Join us next time for Chapter 40 of Race to the Sun. Good night, Flagstaff.